Hi guys, I'm going to talk. It's Nicolas Link, chairman of CGRA, CGrowthCapital. I don't know if you watched my earlier clip talking about CGRA as a company, as a parent company, holding company. Now I'll just go into the two operating subsidiaries. So firstly, talk about sports, the sports subsidiary. Now this really is focused on sports technology going forward, and we're looking for additional sports assets. In the short term, as we stand right now, we have a company called Savage Barbell, which really is an apparel company which makes clothing primarily for the functional fitness functional fitness business industry. So those products, that business in its heyday, 2019-ish, was doing about $6 million of revenue. It slightly failed to pivot, through the COVID times, and as the things changed, gyms were closed, people changed their lifestyle habits, etc. We have obviously acquired that business and continue to develop it on. Now, it took us some time to really get to the nitty-gritty of the business, and there was a couple of things. One, we obviously needed to raise some serious capital for it. We obviously entered into the negotiations to acquire the business prior to the market, let's say, shitting itself, if I can use those abrupt words. But obviously 2023 has been a pretty tough year to raise capital in general market, and obviously to grow a retail business, although they're very cash positive going forward, it takes some stimulation to get them going, right? And obviously we hadn't anticipated the market crashing around us and it becoming very, very difficult to raise money. Those of you that watched the previous CGRA video will know we've now overcome that obstacle. We've raised the capital, and now we are going to take this business, to the stratosphere. So it took us a little while, as I said, to kind of get to grips with the business in general and kind of build the plan of what we were trying to do to scale this business up. We looked at the distribution model through shops, retailers, which would have bought really good revenue, which is great on great on the top line, but what's the saying? Drive for show, putt for dough. So turnover is vanity, profit is sanity. So we felt that wasn't the right strategy, but we spent quite a number of months going down that route, and I think we had a PR out. We were in discussion, or basically at the point of signing with two big retailers in Europe, which, although again massive revenue, but they would have had us, again, if I can be a little bit crude, say had us by the balls. That payment terms are horrendous. They're basically going to pay us 60 or 90 or 120 days, pretty much if they feel like it. They can send back whatever they don't like, whatever they don't sell. So basically we carry all the risk, the margin, they take all the margin, and we carry all the risk and all the cash flow pressure. Those of you that sell products, in your own lives into retail will know that's a typical model. With cash being a lot harder to get our hands on, a lot tighter, we need to be a lot smarter, operate a lot leaner, and be able to be a much more cash generative business. That what the sports business is intended to do to CGRA is to bring cash. It should be a cash machine. It should be our cash cow going forward. We've got to go through this critical mass period, sure. There's no point in bringing 100 grand or 500 grand a year or $1 million. That's pointless. Those of you that know me in the other business, I'm not interested in businesses that are going to be worth 5 million or 10 million, or, we want to get into the hundreds or high hundreds of millions of revenue in a relatively short period of time, couple, 3, 4, 5 years, not gradually tickling it. So that said, it took us a while to work out what the right strategy for that was, which I believe we've done, and been executing on, behind the scenes. Since we've raised the capital now, we've been able to execute in a lot of the plans, which really is about, business to consumer, direct to the consumer. We have contracted an extremely strong marketing company who have actually implemented the marketing strategies for a number of global products, including sports products, some of them in the billions of revenues. There'll be a separate, I'm going to just highlight, but I'm limited to what I can say on this video because I'm not allowed to say anything that isn't public knowledge yet. And because it's in a public video to you doesn't mean it's public knowledge, because the way the SEC and any of the regulators review it, for those of you that don't know, is you guys are basically classed as insiders, in terms of a marketing promotional point of view, because it's going to our Twitter feed, which might only have a few thousand people. So in other words, when I say something, only a few thousand people know about it. However, when it's PR'd on an official PR and it goes out through the news wires, it goes through Bloomberg, Yahoo Finance, CNBC, whatever. It goes through a number, and there's a specific, rules around that. It goes to a number of credible people, which then the way they're registered is that's now gone to a number of eyes who are now aware of it. Therefore, it's no longer classed as just the CGRA Twitter feed, which is all people who know about the business. This is now going to the world, and anybody has the access to the data. Not people will only know about it if they're on the CGRA Twitter feed. So I can give you a high level view, but can't go into any real detail until those PRs start to roll out. Now, we have tweeted over the last few days, watch the wires, the PRs are coming. They are coming, and they're going to come relatively consecutively now. We have a very strong PR plan. And as I said on the CGRA video in general, the plan is not to, is to bring substance. So when we PR something, it's got to be verifiable. You guys have got to be able to do the due diligence. You've got to be able to check the data. You've got to be able to go and have a look and see what's actually going on. And it needs to, eventually be in your eyes. If we're saying we're going to a shop or we're going to do this and this and this, you need to be able to see it over time, right? So, we didn't want to be, we decided to hold back on some of our news over the last, not hold back because we're not allowed to, but be more selective over what was real news and what wasn't news. So on the basis that when we actually tell you something, it's close to being in the market, it's close to you being able to see, touch, feel it, etc. And you can verify it from the start. And to have a consistent, news pipeline, which, we've now got in place because all the deliverables that we needed to deliver, as milestones and flags for our internal management in order to be able to actually execute and roll out the plan are now in place. So that is basically contracting consultants, marketing companies, hiring both internal people but also external people who are experts on what we do, who have experience in product placement and taking things to the next level. That has been done and achieved, and it'll come out through the news wires on exactly what that is and what they do and how they're going to do it and what's our plan of action, which I think everybody will like and have some confidence in and feel comfortable with. But really the plan, in general at a high level, really is, as we've said before, is to build a great product, a sustainable product. That ticks all the ESG boxes, but ultimately it's a sustainable product. But most importantly, it's a functional product that does what it needs to do, but looks super cool. Now, I'm not from a retail background at all, so it's, I had a massive learning curve through this. Thank goodness we found a really good team of people who are experts and have done this 100 times before. So that's helped the journey quite considerably. And again, there'll be more information on that, in the coming weeks and months and days. And hopefully over time you'll get to connect with some of those people on their own social media platforms, etc. But what's really important is the product placement, and this I think we failed to grasp in the beginning. A product that is suitable for America is not suitable for Europe. A product that's suitable for Europe may be suitable for Africa and the Middle East and parts of Asia, but it's not suitable for the US. So a one-trick pony just isn't going to work. And I think we failed to grasp some of that. And also, logistics costs through this year were unpredictable. At the beginning of the year, they were ridiculously high. Now they're sensible. So that obviously impacted our long-term strategic planning on product margin. It impacted our long-term planning on supply chains. Obviously, also those of you that watch my macro video will know that there's a bit of an east-west power shuffle. We don't want to get stuck with all our supply coming from the east. And then we have anti-dumping charges and any charges that maybe the US may impose both now or in the medium or long-term future. And suddenly we're stuck with a one-channel pipeline of supply, which would be critical for the business. So there were multiple things going on behind the scenes. I think sometimes the shareholders, it's not their job to understand it, but it is their job to know what that we're looking after that stuff and we've thought about it, and it's under stable hands of management that know about this stuff. It's not about buying something from Chicago and delivering it in Atlanta. That's not our business. We're trying to create a brand, trying to create a product that is functional, does the job, is affordable, is next level. The whole user experience or customer experience is next level. If those of you that remember back when you bought your first iPhone, you probably had a BlackBerry. It came in a box with a cable and a plug. Whoopee. You bought your first iPhone and you were like, wow, the box slid out, like everything opened and shut, everything was tucked away. You probably still remember it left that much of an opinion on you. That's the type of wow factor we want to bring if we want to take this to the next level, which is what we're going to do. We're not interested in just trying to be another Under Armour mass production in the market by the thousands and adding no value, and just that's not the space we're going for. we believe that with the right product placement, the right brand awareness, the right marketing exposure, we can really push this thing onto a different level. So we've got the people behind to do that. We've got the distribution channels now in place to do that. Again, there'll be more information on that. And we are basically waiting for the new lines, some of the samples from the new lines to come in, which will then bring a nice fresh facelift to both the US product and a European range. So that there's some phenomenal great things coming. And we predict 24 will be an unbelievable year, sort of, again, not an incomparable year, because there hasn't really been a great comparable since we've owned it. It's been pretty average revenues. Hobby industry, as I say it, $1 million of revenue is not nothing exciting. But now we're going to take this thing on to the next level. And we believe we can make this thing into a real brand that everybody will know globally within a few years. So the fund that we've got behind it have got ample access to capital. The first amounts of capital that came into CGRA, the parent, has been deployed, and we've got a funding line, which again we'll announce more to a little while. We're finalizing some of the details on it, but we've arranged a funding line for this, for trade finance for the products to come through. So we expect now that almost for the first time we can put a flag in the ground and say we are ready to scale. We're ready to scale this business to the next level at a rapid speed. So I'm sorry I can't go into too much detail, but the news-wise will be coming off, I won't say fast and furious, it's probably not the right word, but pretty consistently over the next, pretty much starting immediately, explaining what we're doing, updating on what we're doing, updating on some of the, the routes to market, the distribution, the channels, the products, etc., etc., etc. So, so I'll leave that with you on the sports, and thank you very much.